In the War Within, one of the main characters in the expansion is Alleria Windrunner, who's getting a new model, and honestly, it makes her look like an entirely different character. But Alleria has been a part of Warcraft's lore ever since the second Warcraft game, and has had a long, complicated story told across multiple different forms of media, so getting a full scope of her story can be difficult to grasp. Alleria Windrunner is the oldest Windrunner sister, her younger siblings being Verisa, Sylvanas, and her brother Varath. Their mom was the Ranger General of Silvermoon, the leader of the Farstriders, who are an elite group of elven rangers in Quel'Thalas. And because Alleria was the eldest daughter, she was next in line to become the Ranger General, which is a fate she didn't really want. So instead, she handed the leadership of the Farstriders over to her younger sister, Sylvanas. I mean, she actually wants to be the Ranger General, and look at this cool spin move she can do. I love you, Sylvanas! After unloading the burden of leadership, Alleria became a Ranger Captain of the Farstriders and explored the distant regions of the Eastern Kingdoms. During the Second War, the Horde rampaged across the lands. Alleria's mom, dad, and little brother were all murdered by orcs and trolls, leading Alleria to fight alongside the humans of the Alliance of Lordaeron. It was during this war she would meet the paladin Turalyon and they'd form a relationship, but more on that in just a moment. Alleria's involvement in the war ends with going to the capital city of Lordaeron with the Alliance, defeating the Horde, and the orcs flee back down to the Dark Portal. This video is sponsored by Game of Thrones Legends, an exciting Match 3 RPG game set in the world of Westeros. Create a unique team of legendary champions from the Game of Thrones universe. These heroes are more than just familiar faces. Plan a strategy with each of the heroes' unique abilities and weaponry, and pair them alongside one another to craft effective synergies. You can hone your skills in PvE and PvP gameplay, and you can even form your own House of Westeros and compete with rival alliances in tournaments and events. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Well, you know what? I actually do, because I'm using my genius Match 3 tactics to fight a giant dragon right now. Matching these colors is truly an epic experience, and you can secure your legacy right now. Download Game of Thrones Legends by clicking the link in the description, or scan the QR code to get 50 gold, 3,000 food, and a daily summon token to start your journey today.
The advertisement is over.
In the aftermath of the war, Alleria and Turalyon start a relationship and have a half-elf baby named Eretor. I bet if you don't pay close attention to the lore, you won't even know this guy exists. He's been a very minor character, and first appeared in the Burning Crusade and Honor Hold, and then briefly in Legion, and we'll be discussing more about Eretor later. Later on, the Horde re-enter Azeroth and steal some artifacts and take them back to Draenor. Alleria joins an A-team of Alliance heroes to retrieve these artifacts, called the Sons of Lothar, which included Alleria, Khadgar, Danath Trollbane, Turalyon, and Kurdran Wildhammer. The Sons of Lothar traveled to Draenor and realized the artifacts the Horde had stolen were used to conjure new portals to new worlds. This leads to an apocalyptic amount of energy surging across the planet. So much so, it risks spilling into Azeroth. So the Sons of Lothar broke the connection between the two worlds, leaving them stranded on Draenor, which was transformed into Outland. Everyone back on Azeroth assumes the Sons of Lothar had perished in their sacrifice, and in their honor, statues were constructed in the newly rebuilt Stormwind City, one of the statues being Turalyon and Ranger Captain Alleria Windrunner. And it doesn't even look like her, like in the slightest, and she has a bird. When did Alleria ever have a bird? I don't know what the fuck. 20 years pass, and the Burning Crusade expansion happens. The Dark Portal is opened, again, and players ventured into Outland, and when they arrived, they met the Alliance expedition that had managed to hold out ever since their sacrifice all those years ago. There's Kurdran Wildhammer, Danath Trollbane, Khadgar, and even Eretor, Alleria and Turelyon's kid who's looking for his parents, but where are they? They can't be found anywhere on the continent, But it's not like they weren't here. I mean, there's an Alliance hub called the Allerian Stronghold. We wouldn't find out the duo's fate for another decade. Turalyon and Alleria's experience from the closing of the Dark Portal to now is told in the audio drama 1,000 Years of War. I beg of you, please give it a listen because it's some of the best Warcraft media ever produced by Blizzard. And it's also where our story turns from fantasy to borderline sci-fi. As Draenor was breaking apart and turning into the Outland, reality itself was merging with the twisting Nether, and Turalyon and Alleria jumped into a random portal to an unknown world. It was then a strange ally appeared to tell the two of their destiny.
A harmonic tone thundered across them. Turalyon leapt to his feet, drawing his hammer from its sling. Alleria spun, bow raised, arrow already nocked. Blinding light shone from a circle in the air only a few paces away. It was a rift, identical to the one Turalyon had followed to get here. All he could see through the glow was a hand beckoning them forward. A voice called out to them,
"This way, quickly!"
Turalyon's shock faded. The rift and the voice behind it were both suffused with the light.
"We can trust him,"
he told Alleria. She glanced at him, then lowered her bow.
Very well.
She stepped through the rift. Turalyon followed.
The person who saved them was Lothraxion, a dreadlord infused with the light and who had defected from the Burning Legion. Yeah, he's kind of weird and an outlier. Just go with it right now, okay? And he tells them of their fate to fight back against the Legion. Zira, the Light Mother, a powerful Naru god, has seen their future. Their destiny to become one with the light and fight back this demonic threat who are going to invade Azeroth once again. Alleria wished to return to Azeroth, to be reunited with her son she barely knew. But that was not the future Zira saw. Alleria and Turalyon are destined to battle the Legion elsewhere and join her with the Army of Light. This is a spaceship traveling group of fanatical, holy warriors who fight demons all around the Great Dark Beyond and the Twisting Nether. And for the next 500 years, Turalyon and Alleria were a part of the Army of Light. Turalyon was imbued with this power, making him immortal, and even Alleria learned how to blend holy magic into her combat. But Alleria's connection to the light would not last forever. During a particular attack on a demonic outpost, there were no demons. In fact, they had all been slain by the powers of the Void. The demons of the Burning Legion have the ability to respawn when they're killed, but with the Void magic, they're permanently killed. Alleria was intrigued by the idea, an incredibly effective method to fight back against the biggest threat in the universe, the biggest threat to Azeroth, and the biggest threat to her son. The Void saw this gap in her mind, this openness to corruption, an opportunity to strike and lay dormant in her mind. Alleria's acceptance and ultimately wielding of Void powers for the greater good ostracized her from the Army of Light and her wholly infused himbo husband. She voluntarily isolated herself from the Army of Light, but also, yeah, they wouldn't really want her there if she was dabbling in Void magic.
Get out!
Right on time, fleshling.
What? Show yourself! Who are you?
Yes, I do have a real name. It's none of your business.
Huh? Who is that?
Were I to speak it aloud, 1,000 void portals would rip open, and some very unpleasant entities would come looking to collect on old debts.
Could you elaborate? Even a little?
Here's a hint. It's an ancient word of power. If I whisper it in your ear, your mind will fall into madness. Still want to play?
What are you talking about?
It is all about perspective. But by all means, if you want to see reality itself torn asunder, keep asking about my name.
During her isolation, Alleria meets an entity called the Locust Walker. an ethereal who's a master of the void and teaches her how to wield it in its dichotomy with the light. He explains to Alleria how the light is blinded by only accepting one singular path of destiny. Conversely, the void accepts all possible futures as truth, and neither are getting a full story to a person's true identity. Suddenly, the teaching is interrupted and Alleria has a vision of a Legion assassin who has just poisoned Turalyon, and he's gonna torment him for all eternity in a soul stone. Even worse, he swore to do the exact same to their son. Alleria jumps into action, teleporting to the Zenidar and attacks this assassin with her void magic, and this demon attempts to flee between realities and Alleria pursues him. Now, humor me for a second, because this is a part of the audio drama. It's one of my favorite moments written in Warcraft history. I'm just going to play it to you directly and cut out some parts to make it shorter. Just take a listen to this.
The creature ran. It ran and ran and ran, sliding between realms, dancing between the twisting nether and the void. It ripped Alleria's spike free from its chest. The weapon dissolved into nothing. The Eridar was gasping in pain. Each step came with a chant.
Have to get away. 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 Have to...
Dark matter wrapped around its neck. The demon screamed as it was yanked from its dance and pulled back onto the Zenidar, back into the twisting nether. The Eridar was on its feet in a second, hissing through its fanged teeth. Its daggers whirled in both hands, and it sliced away the bonds of shadow. With a desperate laugh, it hurled its poison blades at the woman. She had pulled it here, to the one place where it could die, and the blades stopped in midair. She stepped past them.
Gil'dayden, save me!
Is he watching?
Alleria walked forward, closing the distance. She kept walking toward it, step after step after step. The Eridar could feel Kil'jaeden's disappointment. He had heard its cries and ignored them. And then she was standing before it. The demon fell to its knees. It couldn't even lift its arms to beg for mercy. All it could do was wheeze out its last prayer.
Please. Please. Please.
She knelt in front of it, meeting its gaze. All hope died with her words.
You promised to kill my son.
Her dagger slipped easily into its throat. The demon made not a sound. It just stared at her with unblinking eyes as its life drained away. Behind her, on the other end of the hall, were Turalyon and Lothraxion, watching. The demon saw astonishment in their eyes. It saw fear. Then it all faded away. It was a relief.
That was so cool, and then Blizzard never made an audio drama ever again.
Excuse me, what the actual fuck are you doing in my house?
The Light Mother Zira imprisons Alleria for her use of the Void after she refuses to denounce her dark powers. Keep in mind, she isn't using the Void for the Army of Light. She's doing this for Azeroth, and if she must be imprisoned for doing so, well, so be it. The continuation of her story and the Army of Light is told in the Shadows of Argus patch in Legion. Now keep in mind, Alleria and Turalyon have been fighting with the Army of Light for 1,000 years, but because of weird space-time stuff, it's only been around 2 decades for everyone back on Azeroth. During this patch, the Legion's homeworld of Argus is teleported right next to Azeroth, and the Army of Light goes to the planet to assault it in the final battle against the Legion. The final battle in a war that has been going on for thousands and thousands, and their ship gets instantly shot down, with Alleria being one of the individuals inside of it. Players land on the world of Argus, meet Turalyon, and then travel to the crashed ship to save those still trapped inside. And during their excursion, Alleria swoops in to save the day.
Alleria. Perfect timing, as always.
I have made a habit of saving you from the grasp of demons.
But Alleria, there's something else. When the ship from Azeroth arrived, I sensed his presence.
Arator. He's here.
I would know it anywhere, even after all the years we've spent apart.
Every day, for 1,000 years, I've thought about what I wanted to say to him. Now, though, words fail me.
I know, my love. I feel the same. But once we see our son, our hearts will speak for us.
Let's not keep our son waiting.
But couldn't you have reached out to us? To your people? To me?
Arator, not a day passed that your mother and I didn't...
Every choice we made was to keep you safe. It broke our hearts to be apart from you.
Son, there is so much more we have to say. But our allies at the Zenadar will soon be overrun.
You must go to their aid, Turalyon. I will scout behind enemy lines and provide a distraction. We will return soon, Arator.
I understand. Light be with you both. It pains me to see them go, Aunt Verisa. I could not bear to lose them now. Not after waiting all these years.
Have patience, Arator. It may take time, but your family will be whole again.
No doubt my mother will soon ask about Sylvanas. What are you going to tell her?
It is a conversation I know we must have, but the thought of it fills me with dread. How can I explain to Alleria what our sister has become? The truth will break her heart. Impossible! I refuse to believe she now leads the Horde. Not after all they did to our people during the war. There's more. I'm not sure how to explain the rest. Or if this is even the time or place to... I must know, Verisa. What fate befell our sister? Give me a moment. I will do my best to explain. Perhaps we had best discuss the matter in private.
While Alleria and Turalyon were getting accustomed to their family after being separated from them for 1,000 years, they still had a war to win. And through this patch, the Army of Light and the player characters fight back the Burning Legion on their homeworld. But demons aren't the only foes on Argus. In the zone of Eridath, a Naru has fallen to the powers of darkness, and is spreading void energies all across the zone. And a group of void-obsessed ethereals called the Shadow Guard are there to claim it. With help from Locust Walker, Alleria learns how to better control the powers of the Void, defeat these ethereals, and even consumes the entire essence of this fallen Naru.
Survived. Interesting. How do you feel?
The voices are louder now, more insistent, but they do not control me.
You asked me to teach you to use the Void as a weapon. Now that weapon is you.
It seems my training is complete.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to test the limits of this newfound power. Come.
Alleria can turn her void form on or off whenever she pleases, and uses it to help defeat the Burning Legion at the end of the expansion, and Azeroth is saved! Just ignore the giant sword that was plunged into the earth at the end of the expansion.
It is unsettling to look upon these memorials to our passing.
Indeed.
Alleria and Turalyon finally return to Azeroth, but this Azeroth is far different from the one they were familiar with. The biggest difference being that Alleria's sister, Sylvanas, was undead and is leading the Horde, and the High Elves, who are now renamed to the Blood Elves, have also joined the Horde. Even worse, there are rumblings of another war between the Alliance and Horde. King Anduin Wrynn suggests that Alleria travels to Quel'Thalas so that she can convince the Blood Elves to change sides. A difficult task, but it doesn't hurt to try.
Lothar, I come bearing an offer from High King Anduin Wrynn.
I had hoped your visit was motivated by a love for Silvermoon. Instead, you come at the behest of the Alliance's Boy King. How disappointing.
Cutting words, Lothar. Are they yours, I wonder? Or has the dutiful ranger I knew become the mouthpiece of your war chief?
You doubt my words, yet how can we trust your own? Do you deny that the Lords of the Void whisper to you? Did you not surrender yourself to the shadows on Argus?
It seems the offer I bring has been anticipated and spurned. Very well. But before I leave, I have one request. It has been 1,000 years since I set eyes upon the Sunwell. May I visit it once again?
I advise against it. We cannot trust that she will not—
Whatever she has become, Alleria is a daughter of Quel'Thalas. I will not deny her pilgrimage to our most sacred site. Romoth, kindly open the way for us.
The Sunwell has changed, but its beauty remains. It has been so long.
Guards! Seize this saboteur.
I did not intend for my presence to—
Enough! You will leave at once, Alleria. Accident or no, your presence poses a danger to Quel'Thalas. Go back to Stormwind. Silvermoon is no longer your home.
Alleria is then banished from her homelands, which is difficult to come to terms with. You know, she just went on this intergalactic crusade for 1,000 years, accepted the powers of the Void, only for them to reject her when she returned home. She understood why, obviously, but that didn't make the separation any easier. Alleria would soon discover that she wasn't the only elf to research the powers of the Void. In the Ghostlands, she finds scribblings of Magister Umbric and discovers a rogue group of shadow-dabbling miscreants called the Void Elves, and offers to teach them how to master the Void. Kinda glossing over this lore because, kinda sucks. Let's be honest here, the only reason why Void Elves exist is because Blood Elves are the most popular playable race in all of World of Warcraft, and Blizzard made Void Elves an allied race to give their character models over to the Alliance. Lore-wise, there's probably like, I don't know, 50 Void Elves, so it doesn't even make that much sense. And Alleria's just like, so, you guys, like, want to join the Alliance, I guess? I mean, sure, we don't really have anything else going on, so, I guess that sounds good. The battle for Azeroth happens, and it's an all-out war between the Horde and the Alliance. Alleria is forced to fight her fallen sister, and even worse, the old god N'Zoth is trying to take over the world. But Sylvanas is defeated, and this old god is killed, and while Alleria doesn't play a big role in this expansion, that doesn't mean it isn't traumatic for her.
I thought I'd find you here. It's a place you often visit when something's on your mind.
Perhaps these statues remind me of a simpler time.
So much has happened since our return to Azeroth. The wounding of the world, the war against the Horde.
War, I understand. We both do. But I expected to be fighting with two sisters at my side. Instead, I faced one of them in battle. Or at least, what remains of her.
Has the downfall of the old god brought you at least a measure of peace?
The whispers did not end with his defeat. In fact, it seems new voices have joined the chorus. When I think of the nightmares he forced into my mind. How could I have ever loved someone so weak? Let us hope Eretor did not inherit your cowardice.
Alleria, please. This is madness.
You have always stood between me and the Void. Now die with your precious light.
Father, do not listen to the whispers.
I have ignored them for too long. They speak the truth, Eretor, and you will hear them. I will make you hear them.
No, I will never.
I witnessed them too.
but they didn't shake my faith in you. Not for a moment.
Nor mine for you, my love. Enough reflection. We have a job to do. Hunt down Sylvanas and make her pay.
Shadowlands happens, Sylvanas is defeated, and let's jump forward to the War Within, where a new entity of the Void has taken interest in Alleria. Many characters are hearing something called the Radiant Song, a mysterious vision from who we assume is Azeroth crying out for aid. Except for Alleria, who's experiencing visions of the Void. The entity watching and ultimately trying to pull her into madness is the Harbinger, Xal'atath, a void being wielding a powerful artifact called the Dark Heart, which she plans to use to corrupt all of Azeroth. After speaking to Locust Walker about this whole ordeal, he reveals that this Radiant Song other characters have been hearing is very similar to the song his people heard before their world was destroyed. So, yeah, not a good sign. Alleria and other characters must travel into the depths of Azeroth, find the source of this song, and stop Xal'atath before it's too late. And with this expansion, Alleria is getting a new model, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I feel like it's just missing iconic parts of her character, like with her High Elf Ranger armor or her iconic war paint, and instead she looks like a totally different character. Like, she looks like a main character of a YA novel. Straight up Hunger Games, Aragon, Maze Runner, Ranger's Apprentice looking ass. And there is a bit more lore in a short story prelude where Alleria travels back to Silvermoon to try and convince Eretor to stay away from Xal'atath. To which he responds, I'm a paladin? Fighting big bad evil people, it's kind of my thing. If you want to hear the full story, I have a voiceover version with sound effects that you can listen to on my Patreon. Also, Eretor apparently got badass light and void dragon tattoos on his arms. Just some real gangster shit. Dude just has an unlimited amount of half-elf swag. Remember to jump into the land of Westeros by clicking the link down below or scan the QR code and get 50 gold, 3,000 food, and a daily summon token to start your journey.
Excellent!